Yes, but this is all extremely vexing. I'm quite put out.
One of the most formidable characters in Pride and Prejudice, Lady Catherine, commands Rosings Park with an iron will, shaping not only the lives of those around her, but also attempting to dictate the fate of her nephew, Mr. Darcy. Beneath her bluster lies a woman seemingly desperate to cling to the past, a relic of rigid aristocracy that is on the brink of change, and a tragic figure who, like her daughter Anne, never quite became what she was meant to be. Let's explore a little further. Born Lady Catherine Fitzwilliam, she was the daughter of an earl, making her an aristocrat by birth. This instantly set her above most of society, but also placed her in a structured world where expectations dictated every aspect of her life. Like many noble daughters of her time, her path was clear from the beginning: marry well, bear children, and maintain the family's influence. And whether she was naturally overbearing or shaped into this figure of entitlement by circumstances is uncertain, but what is clear is that she embraced her rank with unwavering confidence.
She will not think the worse of you for being simply dressed. She likes to have the distinction of rank preserved.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. That is a great comfort.
Her husband, Sir Louis de Burgh, remains an enigma, mentioned only in relation to his death. Given Lady Catherine's domineering personality, it is possible that he was a quiet, unassuming figure, overshadowed by his wife's forceful nature. On the other hand, he may have been the one person who could temper her arrogance, thus leaving her unchecked and unchallenged after his passing. His death left Lady Catherine in complete control of Rosings Park and its fortune, making her one of the wealthiest women in the novel.
64, and I have it on good authority that the glazing alone originally cost in excess of £600.
Does she have a need for admiration and flattery? Well, her relationship with Mr. Collins might demonstrate this. She keeps him close, knowing he will hang on her every word. Her daughter Burgh remains a frail and silent figure, seemingly existing only as a pawn in her mother's ambitions. Whether Lady Catherine genuinely cared for Anne's well-being or merely viewed her as an extension of her own failed dreams could remain a point of speculation. Lady Catherine is best known for her overbearing nature, intrusive advice, and unquestioned belief in her superiority. She sees herself as an authority on all matters, whether it's child-rearing, music, architecture, or marriage.
Oh, your father may spare you if your mother can. Daughters are never of much consequence to her father.
One of her most famous lines captures this perfectly.
And if I had ever learnt, I should be a true proficient.
At first glance, this is just another example of Lady Catherine's arrogance. However, this might also be a rare moment of vulnerability, an admission that she never became all that she believed she would be. Understanding Lady Catherine means recognizing her not just as a tyrant, but as a woman who, in another life, might have been extraordinary. Now, although the novel never explicitly states how Mr. Collins came to be the rector of his parish, it is clear that Lady Catherine played an instrumental role in securing the position for him.
For having received my ordination at Easter, I have been so fortunate as to be distinguished by the patronage of the Right Honourable Lady Catherine de Bourgh.
In return, Collins dotes on her every word, never failing to praise her wisdom and her generosity.
And thirdly, which
Perhaps I should have mentioned first that it is the particular recommendation of my noble patroness.
His devotion appears exaggerated, but I wonder if there could be a reason to believe that it may be a calculated performance. Collins knows that one day he will inherit Longbourn, at which point he may no longer need to depend on Lady Catherine's patronage. His excessive praise may simply be a means to an end. Ironically, Lady Catherine, so accustomed to controlling others, may herself be manipulated by the very man she believes she controls. Now, if I were in Collins's shoes, I'd certainly give up the job as a rector to become a landed gentleman. That being said, Lady Catherine relishes having someone who agrees with her without question, and Mr. Collins serves as a reflection of her own importance, reinforcing her dominance on his world. Whether she genuinely values his admiration or merely enjoys the ego boost it provides to her, their relationship is one of mutual convenience. Lady Catherine's interactions with different characters often reveal shifts in her demeanour. Around Mr. Collins, Sir William Lucas, and even Elizabeth Bennet, she exerts dominance, talking down to them, dismissing their opinions and asserting her perceived superiority. However, when in the presence of her nephew, Mr. Darcy, and of his cousin, Colonel Fitzwilliam, a very subtle change occurs. Unlike her behaviour around social inferiors, Lady Catherine appears notably less forceful around Darcy and Fitzwilliam.
Forgive me. Make my apologies to Lady Catherine Fitzwilliam.
She still maintains an air of authority, but there is a distinct absence of the unchecked condescension she exhibits elsewhere. Instead, she engages in conversation with them in a way that suggests mutual respect. This shift in character dynamics implies that Lady Catherine acknowledges them as her equals, or at least as individuals who cannot be easily controlled. That subtle eye roll of Darcy's at the piano scene, I think, reflects this. Darcy is well aware of Lady Catherine's nature, her busybody, nosy Parker kind of attitude. He's fully aware of it and shows us in a subtle way perhaps his intolerance of her.
What are you talking of? What are you telling Miss Bennet? I must have my share in the conversation.
Now, it's very interesting to see Lady Catherine's shift in character status. One thing that I learned while I was doing some acting lessons was a thing called character status. Now, if you're doing day acting, in as much as if you have an agent, if you are an actor, and I do acting, and someone says, we need you to come in and play a part just for one day, but you have no concept of what the whole story is and who your character is in regards to all the other characters, one of the first things you ask the director, what is my character status? And this is exemplified in the John Cleese and the Two Ronnies sketch. I'll show you a little bit here.
I look down on him because I am upper class. I look up to him because he is upper class. But I look down on him because he is lower class. I know my place.
And what this is saying is that you as a character have superiority over some and inferiority over others. And how you portray your character will reflect this. So what I'm seeing with Lady Catherine de Bourgh is that while she is superior to Elizabeth and Collins and Sir William Lucas, her air of character is portrayed as superior. But then when you contrast it with Darcy and Fitzwilliam, it's on par, or it's actually, well, it's definitely not inferior, but it's definitely on par. So character status is even shown when Jane Austen writes her characters. So obviously Elizabeth has a stronger character status over maybe Charlotte, but certainly over Mr. Collins. And she has the way of showing that authority. So yeah, Lady Catherine's character, we do see change when she's around Darcy and Fitzwilliam. One of the most intense moments in Pride and Prejudice is Lady Catherine's unexpected arrival at Longbourn.
Where is she? Is this the drawing room? Lady Catherine de Bourgh.
Where she demands to speak to Elizabeth Bennet. The confrontation in the garden in the 1995 adaptation is a verbal duel, with both women defending their positions fiercely. Lady Catherine arrives, determined to ensure that Elizabeth does not marry Mr. Darcy, and she insists that such a match is impossible, that Darcy was always intended for her daughter Anne, and that Elizabeth's inferior birth makes her unworthy. Here Lady Catherine reveals her devotion to class distinction. She initially argues that Elizabeth is beneath Darcy because of her social standing. However, Elizabeth counters that she is a gentleman's daughter, just as Darcy is a gentleman, making them equals by rank.
He is a gentleman, I am a gentleman's daughter. So far, we are equal.
Forced to acknowledge this, Lady Catherine pivots to another argument. Elizabeth's mother and her extended family, who lack refinement and have connections to trade.
But who's your mother? Who are your uncles and aunts? Do not imagine me ignorant of their condition.
Further solidifying her belief that Elizabeth is unsuitable. And that's not even mentioning, although I am now, the infamous elopement. Woe to the shades of Pemberley, right?
Are the shades of Pemberley to be thus polluted?
This exchange perfectly captures the rigid social hierarchy of the time, where wealth and breeding were seen as defining attributes. Lady Catherine's passionate defence of these principles suggests not just a desire to uphold tradition, but also a desperate attempt to maintain a world that's clearly slipping away.
I take no leave of you, Miss Bennet. I send no compliments to your mother. You deserve no such attention.
But in visiting Elizabeth and challenging her, she unknowingly seals Elizabeth and Darcy's fate.
Lady Catherine told me of her meeting with you. I may say that her disclosure had quite the opposite effect to the one she intended.
By challenging Elizabeth, she forces Darcy to re-examine his own desires. Without Lady Catherine's interference, would Darcy have ever found the courage to defy social convention and propose again? It could be possible that along with the gardeners, Lady Catherine herself played a part in helping to unite Darcy and Elizabeth.
It taught me to hope that I'd scarcely ever allowed myself to hope before. I knew that had you absolutely decided against me, you would have acknowledged it openly.
The 1940 adaptation has Lady Catherine as a co-conspirator with Darcy, if you like. She's actually instrumental in making sure Elizabeth and Darcy get together. Pretty stretched from the original novel. But it's almost as if Darcy needs his aunt's assistance.
She's right for you, Darcy. You were a spoiled child. But we don't want to go on spoiling you. What you need is a woman who will stand up to you.
But other adaptations of Pride and Prejudice and with Elizabeth and Darcy's marriage leave Lady Catherine fuming in the background, presumably forever estranged from the Darcys. However, the novel actually suggests otherwise. Austen notes that sometime after Elizabeth and Darcy are married, Lady Catherine visits them at Pemberley. But why? Was it simply curiosity, an inability to resist seeing how Elizabeth had settled in her new role? Did she expect to find Elizabeth floundering in a position she deemed unsuitable for her? Or perhaps, more intriguingly, did Lady Catherine ultimately come to accept Elizabeth, albeit begrudgingly? The novel doesn't provide details on their reunion, leaving room for speculation, but some readers believe Lady Catherine, ever pragmatic, recognised that she could not remain at odds with the head of the Darcy family forever. Others wonder if, over time, she may have developed a reluctant respect for Elizabeth's strength. What do you think? Could Lady Catherine have softened, or was this simply a matter of pride and obligation? Here's a fun section for you. Lady Catherine de Bourgh has been portrayed by many actresses across various adaptations of Pride and Prejudice. Some interpretations emphasise her comic arrogance, while others lean into her imposing and unyielding nature. Among the most well-known portrayals are the following. Edna May Oliver in the 1940 film, a more theatrical take on Lady Catherine with a slightly softening, humorous approach.
I will not be thanked. Let us have no more of this mummery, Miss Bennet. I shall not leave this house until you have given me the assurance for which I ask.
Barbara Leigh-Hunt, 95 adaptation, perhaps the most faithful of Austen's description, with an air of absolute authority and condescension.
This is not to be borne, Miss Bennet. I insist on being satisfied. Has my nephew made you an offer of marriage?
Judi Dench, 2005 film, or should I say Dame Judi Dench. She provided a powerful and intimidating portrayal, bringing a regal gravitas to the role.
Upon my word, you give your opinion very decidedly for so young a person. Pray, what is your age?
Lindsay Duncan, 2008's Lost in Austen, a unique twist on Lady Catherine, blending severity with surprising moments of humour.
She has a natural gentillesse. Not of the same calibre as Miss Bingley, of course, but that is breeding, a matter in which your daughters are disadvantaged.
Penelope Keith, 2013, Death Comes to Pemberley, another dame. So many dames. Her portrayal suggests an older, more reflective version of the character.
I will not be staying after all. You'll think about what I said, Elizabeth. You'll decide I'm right.
Come now, Lady Catherine. Surely you know me better than that.
In these scenes from each adaptation, which performance best captures the essence of Lady Catherine? Does one stay truer to Austen's depiction, or do certain performances bring new depth to the character? Do let me know in the comments which Lady Catherine you believe was the most memorable or the most accurate representation, or indeed just which one was your favourite. Which one ticked all the boxes for you? Lady Catherine de Bourgh then remains one of Jane Austen's most formidable characters, a relic of a social order that is slowly eroding. And remember, Jane Austen was an expert in social commentary, and we've seen this time and time again. Now, whether Catherine de Bourgh was seen as an anti-hero, a tragic figure, or a product of her time, her presence in Pride and Prejudice leaves an undeniable impact. So while I go off and put together my next video, why don't you leave your thoughts in the comments? I might even respond to one or two. Hey, if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. Maybe even share the video, because it's certainly winning me favour with the YouTube algorithm. Thanks so much for watching. Just a quick overview on Lady Catherine. More to come. Bye for now.